In 1959, Hellboy is on a train passing through Appalachia, accompanied by his partner Joe, a rookie agent of the BPRD, Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense, and another agent who is unaware of their mission. As the agent asks, Joe explains that they are transporting the deadliest spider contained in a box to their facility because it might be a demonic entity. Joe tells them that the creature is sedated, but Hellboy hears something inside. Suddenly, the box is destroyed, and the spider transforms into a giant one. The spider kills the other agent, while Joe manages to escape, and Hellboy engages the spider in a fight. Hellboy shoots it with his gun, but the spider attacks, and its weight causes the carriage to derail and plunge off a cliff. They are thrown from the carriage, and Hellboy engages the spider in a fight, managing to stab it with a tree branch. But it transforms back into a smaller spider before escaping into a tunnel, leaving them surprised as to why a tunnel was built there. All their equipment is destroyed, so they need to find a phone nearby to report the incident and a rescue. They begin walking into the woods until they come across a house and meet its owner. However, the house doesn't have a phone, but the woman invites them inside to check on a sick boy. She suspects that the boy is a victim of the rumored witch in their village named Cora. Shortly after, a man named Tom arrives, who finds a witch ball outside and claims to know Cora, stating that she is not a witch. Tom has just returned to the village to visit his parents, only to learn that his mother has passed away and his father is nowhere to be found. Tom decides to find out what happened to his father and prepares to leave, but Joe asks him to accompany them to Cora's place. Hellboy protests on Joe's decision, as she is not a field agent and might not be ready for this kind of things, like hunting a witch, and they have more important mission to find a phone, but Joe thinks there's a reason they are at the place. Hellboy agrees to help the villagers, and Tom accompany them to Cora's place. As they walk, Tom says that Hellboy is very well known in their village because they always see him in the magazines. He also mentions that he and Cora used to date. That's why he knows her very well. After some time, they arrive at Cora's place, but she doesn't respond to Tom's calls, so they decide to enter her house. They search every corner of her house and find strange objects inside, including a witch ball, which confirms that she has become a witch. They go upstairs and are shocked to discover Cora's skin on her bed, revealing that she has also learned how to shapeshift, and they decide to wait for her to return. As they wait, Tom reveals that there is another witch in the village, whom he met years ago, named Effie, who taught him some spells, including one about a lucky bone. Effie told him that whichever bone he was holding when the Crooked Man appeared would be his lucky bone. The tale says that the Crooked Man was sent back from hell to collect souls and keeps a penny for every soul he has claimed. One day, he encountered the Crooked Man while holding the bone and became scared, so he ran as fast as he could and threw the bone away. However, when he got home, the bone was on his doorstep. Tom kept the lucky bone, enlisted in the army, and brought it with him during the war, where it saved him every time, and he became convinced of its power. Effie told him that he could use it to hurt people as well, but he never did, even against the evil ones he faced. Suddenly, they hear noises upstairs and go to check. They discover a raccoon, revealing that it is Cora, who is now returning to her body. Hellboy tries to shoot Cora, but Joe stops him and goes back downstairs. Tom takes care of Cora, who becomes emotional upon learning that Tom witnessed everything. As Tom comforts Cora, a woman on a horse arrives outside, revealing that it is Effie. Tom tells them that she is an old woman who uses spells to appear young and beautiful, and Effie continues to tease Tom, reminding him how she fell for the trick before, and tells them that she has been sent by the Crooked Man. Hellboy warns Effie to leave Tom and Cora alone, or he will hunt them down, but Effie tells him that they are not scared of him. Before Effie leaves, she reveals that the horse is Tom's father, which shocks them. Tom rushes to the horse, which immediately returns to his human form as Tom's father, but dies right away. He decides to take him to the priest at the nearby church, but Cora warns him that the Crooked Man is waiting for them. Nevertheless, Tom is determined to take his father to the priest. The next morning, they leave, and while they walk, Joe asks Cora if she can help her learn some magic spells, as she is beginning to learn some for her research. But Cora warns her to be very careful and think twice before doing so. Hellboy offers to help Tom carry his father, but Tom refuses, and after a while, they notice that Cora is missing. They start looking for her, and Hellboy sees her floating in the air with a snake wrapped around her body. The snake eventually bites Cora before Hellboy grabs it from her. The snake bites him multiple times until he finally catches it and kills it, but he collapses on the ground afterward. He wakes up in a dark place thinking he might be dead, but finds Cora revealing they are in hell. Cora then tells him that the other woman is his mother. Cora reveals that his mother made a deal with the devil, and there Hellboy witnesses how his mother was tricked by the devil and how he was born. He wakes up and sees Joe beside him. Meanwhile, Tom uses his lucky bone to find Cora, but they can't locate her. They continue walking until they reach the church, where Reverend Armstrong, who is blind, informs them that Cora arrived first, realizing that she is a ghost since they can't see her. Tom asks Armstrong to let him bury his father by the church, and he agrees. Joe notices some other villagers outside, and Armstrong warns them that they are also witches under the Crooked Man's spell and must stay inside, as they cannot enter the church's consecrated ground. Suddenly, the sun disappears, and it becomes night in an instant. Tom hears Effie outside threatening him that everyone will die inside the church if he does not face the Crooked Man. Tom goes out, and the Crooked Man arrives, revealing that he just wants the lucky bone. Tom makes a deal with him. If he gives him the lucky bone, he must promise that no harm will come to anyone inside the church, and the Crooked Man agrees. However, before Tom can hand over the lucky bone, Hellboy appears and stops him. Hellboy tells the Crooked Man that since he wants the lucky bone so badly, he'll make sure he never gets his hands on it. The Crooked Man becomes furious and starts attacking Hellboy with metal fences, forcing them to retreat back inside the church. Hellboy removes all the metal fences with Joe's help, while the Crooked Man tries to trick Armstrong into stealing the lucky bone for him by offering to restore his youth and vision. But Armstrong refuses. One of the Crooked Man's witches notices that many sinners were buried in the church's consecrated ground, and the Crooked Man begins a spell. Suddenly, a coffin is thrown into the church, and a woman emerges from it, tempting Armstrong. Hellboy immediately smashes the woman on the floor, while the Crooked Man turns all the buried sinners into zombies and begin attacking everyone inside the church, and Hellboy starts shooting them. Tom's father is also resurrected and grabs Tom, but when Hellboy tries to shoot him, Joe stops him, unaware that more zombies are sneaking up from behind. Hellboy and Joe start fighting the zombies, and Tom battles his father, while Armstrong begins praying until he returns to his old self. Armstrong then grabs his shovel and asks Tom for his lucky bone and starts to chant a prayer, and the bone illuminates and uses it to mark his shovel with a cross. Armstrong then hands the shovel to Hellboy, who swings it once, knocking all the zombies down, shocking the Crooked Man and Effie outside. Hellboy then runs outside and hits the Crooked Man with it, knocking them both down. When Hellboy wakes up, he finds that it is day again. Hellboy decides to hunt down the Crooked Man, this time taking Tom with him as his guide to his house, and instructs Joe to stay with Armstrong. Soon they leave, and after a while reaches the house and they enter. Meanwhile, Joe begins investigating and realizes what Hellboy told her about the soil being alive, and that the abandoned tunnel acts like a vein for the Crooked Man's spell to poison the land. She learns from Armstrong that there is an entrance to the tunnel beneath the church and decides to enter it to destroy it. Joe asks Armstrong why a tunnel was built underneath the church, and Armstrong assumes it was because the miners who built it were also afraid they might find hell below. Armstrong insists to accompany her, warning her that the tunnel is as dark as hell. At the same time, Hellboy and Tom search inside the Crooked Man's house. Suddenly, Hellboy hears a baby crying inside one of the rooms, and they go to check it out. However, it turns out that the Crooked Man has tricked them into getting separated. In the meantime, Joe and Armstrong reach the tunnel, but they are attacked by a flock of crows inside, prompting Joe to run away while Armstrong fights them off with his shovel. However, he is eventually killed. At the same time, Tom is attacked by Effie, forcing him to use his lucky bone to fight her, ultimately throwing her out of the house. Hellboy gets trapped inside a room with a vision of his mother in hell, who recognizes him immediately as her son. Hellboy tries to take her away, but his mother tells him that she cannot be saved, and that the only way to end her pain is by killing her with his own hand. Hellboy refuses to do it, but his mother's suffering prompts him to prepare to shoot her until the vision disappears, revealing that he is actually pointing the gun at himself. In the tunnel, Joe encounters the spider and begins chanting some spells, recalling a vision of herself as a young girl when her father was dying, which traumatized her deeply. Joe finishes the spell, knocking the spider to the ground. After that, the spider returns to its normal size. She immediately places it in her jar and begins running. But as she runs, she trips into a water-filled hole, damaging her flashlight and losing visibility. However, something illuminates in front of her, and a hand guides her out of the tunnel. Meanwhile, Hellboy finds Tom and checks to see if he is the real one. After confirming that Tom is genuine, they resume their search for the Crooked Man, but Hellboy orders Tom to stay behind. Hellboy eventually finds the Crooked Man, and a fight ensues, during which the Crooked Man overpowers Hellboy with his tricks and spells. The Crooked Man releases insects into Hellboy's mouth, but Tom arrives and throws Cora's witch ball at the Crooked Man, revealing that it was meant for him all along. Hellboy then throws him to the floor until they reach the ground floor of the house, where Hellboy finishes him off with a bullet, and every penny he has collected drops on the floor. They leave the house, and while walking, Hellboy tells Tom that his lucky bone is just an ordinary bone, and that the real power lies within Tom. As they talk, they find Effie, now in her true form, hiding in one of the trees, and Tom takes the horse bridle she used to turn his father into a horse. Back at the church, they find Jo alive and well, and she now has the power to see ghosts, pointing out that Armstrong is sitting behind them, who saves her life. They leave to find a phone, and as they walk, Hellboy thinks that Tom alone can defeat the Crooked Man because he has the natural power to overcome evil, and that all he needed was a push, and Jo thinks he is sent here at the right time and place to do that pushing. After a while, they come across a telephone on the road, and a helicopter arrives shortly afterward to pick them up. See you in our next film, Flash. Thank you for watching.